Welcome, everyone, to the Sonoma Spiel. My name is Tim Zahner with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. Lovely day in Sonoma Valley. We're sliding into spring on the Plaza. One of our cherry trees is starting to bloom, so thank God. A little bit wet, but the ducks were enjoying it, so that was a good thing there. One thing that people often do when they walk into the visitor center is they say to us, hello, and we say back to them, hello. And you know, hello is a good word because it reminds me of our guest. We, this week, have a very special guest. Every week I say that. This time I actually mean it. We have a very, very special guest, and she wins an award because we've never had a spousal couple on and then come back. Oh. And so the completion of the Smith family. Maeve Smith, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I really liked the tie-in of Hello. That was pretty impressive.
Because you are the director
of
Hello Girls.
The Hello Girls.
And the Hello Girls.
The Hello Girls.
There's a definite article. It's
yeah.
Hello
there actually
Girls.
is. We'll talk about that.
All right, so you're the executive director.
No.
You're the director.
I am directing a musical.
Of a musical called The Hello Girls.
Yes.
At Sonoma Arts Live.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And before we go into that, though.
Yes.
Maeve, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming
I'm really
on.
happy to be here. This is really exciting.
And I did mention that you had a previous family member on the podcast.
Yes.
I believe. And that was your husband, Andrew, right?
Is it also okay if my video goes?
It's still recording.
It's still recording.
Yeah.
And now I can't see myself.
But you look great.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
You keep me honest here.
You are crying? Is that okay?
Already?
Already.
30 seconds
What's
in?
going on? Yeah, it's so funny. For those that are listening on the podcast, we do this on YouTube. And YouTube is fun because you get to see our expressions. And the fact that I have an incredible face tattoo of the Sonoma Valley. That's how I direct
how
people.
Legit you
I'm
are.
like, oh, you're going to Kenwood? And I point to my left ear.
Yeah, you're that serious.
Right. And I'm like, oh, you're going to Sonoma? And I point to my nose.
Yeah.
And then, oh, you're going down to the Springs or over here on my right ear. So, yeah, it really saves a lot of time and ink.
You are Sonoma Valley.
This is the Sonoma Spiel.
The spiel. We're spieling.
Spiel.
Yes, my name is Maeve Smith, and you had my wonderful, much more fun and hilarious husband, Andrew Smith.
Andrew Smith from San Giacomo Family Winery.
From San Giacomo Family Wines.
But he was also on talking about Sonoma Arts Live.
Because it's our other big passion.
Your gig together.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about first of all, what is Sonoma Arts Live? And then we'll lead into the Hello Girls. So what is Sonoma Arts Live?
Yeah. Sonoma Arts Live is your local theater company producing plays and musicals year-round.
Okay.
They are in the Sonoma Community Center.
Love it.
In Andrews Hall. It's a 100-year-old theater.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Andrew, in my former career, our former career was in theater. And so quickly, when we moved here 7 years ago, we got introduced to them, Jamie and Rick Love, who run the theater.
Got it. Okay.
And we kind of had put theater aside, but we quickly...
It's like what? Get married and have kids and stuff?
Yeah. We have 2 kids, and we used to travel all over the world, and we're vagabonds. And so we thought we'd, I guess, get really serious and get into wine. Become very serious people.
We want stability. You know what says stability? Direct-to-consumer wine marketing.
Any hoodle. So we quickly started working with Sonoma Arts Live. We just love their engagement with the community.
Okay.
We love that there is really quality theater doing really fun stuff, and there's quality talent. It's the Bay Area.
Right.
Just right in our town, and it's really like our community's
so
theater.
It's a small community theater group and theater.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like it's a semi-professional theater. Like they're doing professional quality.
What does that mean? Does that mean you have like little baseball cards, like professional stuff?
Totally.
What does that mean?
It means that the amount of money you make isn't going to be a career.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, it's not Broadway pay.
Right.
But it's the real thing. It's a real business.
And a lot of passion.
A lot of passion and a
lot
of commitment
and
a lot
very
of
seriously.
Yeah, and take it seriously. And also the people that work there usually actually have similar stories to me and Andrew, where we were in New York and we were hustling, and you know.
So I remember this. Your husband, he was dressed up as an Elmo in Times Square. Is that how you met him? Is that
no, he's a naked cowboy.
The naked cowboy. What is the origin story of the Smith family?
It's so boring.
Is it really?
Yeah, we met in grad school.
Our eyes met across a crowded symposium on Bertolt Brecht. No,
in musical theater. I will actually tell you, Maybe it's a little cuter than that.
Okay.
I was going to audition for San Diego State's musical theater program.
Okay, go Aztecs.
Okay, yeah, go Aztecs. They have an MFA in musical theater program,
didn't know
and
that.
I was there for my audition.
Okay.
I had been pre-selected. I was very excited.
Oh,
I was
wow. Okay, good.
a young undergrad at Chico State.
Oh,
so it was
go
like
the other things.
Wildcats.
Wolves? Wildcats.
We didn't have as many
Lobos?
sports.
Yeah.
We didn't have as many sports as San Diego State. It's not D1.
Right.
Anyway, so I am parked my car at San Diego State, and I'm walking up the hill.
Okay.
And I see two guys, and one looks very much like a theater person, and the other one does not.
Is that because like he was walking with like a
He looks like
heel flap ball thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, the other guy is one of our best friends, and was Andrew's best friend. The other guy looks like this jock, and I'm like, I don't know where the theater is, and I don't know where the audition is,
Right.
but I'm gonna ask that one guy because he looks like a theater guy. That guy, I don't know what he's doing, but I was like, buddy has a really cute butt,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's important.
and I was like, that guy has a really cute butt.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, the origin story. The rest is history.
Hey, kids, if you're listening,
Yeah. You know what?
how we met.
I totally have said that in front of both my
Really?
daughters.
And
They're only
like,
8 and 5.
And they're like, Mom, stop it.
They're not that age yet. They're still cute.
I'm assuming the theater kid was your husband.
No, other way around.
He wasn't the one.
No,
He's not it.
he was the jock. But he was
But
going.
he was in theater
But he
too.
was going to the audition.
Got it. Because, okay.
And that best friend was his
Got it.
best friend, and he ended up marrying us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a meet cute.
It's
Come
pretty
on.
cute.
Is Andrew from California too?
Long Island, New York.
Long Island. Okay,
Long
that's right.
Island.
And you're from California?
I'm from Half Moon Bay, California.
Are you really? Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to ask you, what do they ask you if you're from Half Moon Bay?
Mavericks?
No pumpkins.
Pumpkins, yeah. Pumpkins.
Also pumpkins and
Yeah.
Mavericks and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, 'cause that's where you guys have the famous pumpkin contest every year.
Famous pumpkin contest festival, Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Festival, and famous Mavericks Big Wave
Mavericks.
Surf competition.
And Dewart's Pies is down there, I think.
Yeah, that's down in
Pescadero?
Pescadero.
We don't talk about that. Oh,
It's
like,
just
look
really
at you.
far.
Typical California. No, that's like 15 miles away. They're
Well,
dead to
people are
us.
like, "Oh, Half Moon Bay," and I'm like, "Well, gosh,
So you grew up in a small town then?
it's actually very similar to Sonoma.
It is. It's kind of
And
isolated geographically. It's on the coast, San
Isolated,
Mateo
but
coast.
like when I grew up there, I mean, the roads were not paved.
Right.
It was not a tourist destination. I always say it was hippies and hicks.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
like agriculture and ex-San Francisco hippies.
Yeah, just over the hill
Which
there.
that's how my parents, I'm sure they'll listen to this, they classify as the San Francisco people that moved.
really?
And
They moved out to
had
the-
a family
okay. Yeah,
and
that's what happens.
settled down. So it's like artists and ag.
Okay.
Very similar to Sonoma, and we now have quite a tourist destination.
I mean, there's a
upon us.
Ritz-Carlton down there in Half Moon Bay.
That was
and
built when I was in high school.
It's. I do tell people, if you cannot afford the Ritz-Carlton, which I cannot, but you want the best hot chocolate with the best view, go in there and get a hot chocolate.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still offer that or if people fell for that. Like, what are all these hot chocolate people?
One of my
But
high
I loved
school
it.
gigs was caroling for the
that's
holidays
smart.
at the Ritz-Carlton.
Oh, that's
yeah,
very smart.
They hired us.
Let's talk about that. How did you get into theater? How did you go from Half Moon Bay to get into theater? Like, you went to Chico, and did you study theater there?
I did.
Okay. Your undergraduate's in theater studies?
Musical theater.
Musical theater.
Yeah, how I got into theater. Honestly, I was a huge athlete myself and loved basketball, and I
Okay.
hurt my knee. And I couldn't play. And then I didn't make the high school team. And I loved music.
God.
And I went and auditioned for the High School Musical.
And you got in.
I got in as like back
Tree.
of the, yeah, basically, essentially.
What kind of plays were you guys doing in high school in Half Moon Bay?
We did like one musical a year.
Okay, right. Of
Yeah.
course, they always used to
in
do-
the cafetorium.
We would do a drama,
Yeah.
and that was the fall. And then you would do a musical in the winter, right? And then you would do the spring comedy.
Yeah.
And that was what we did in our high school.
We didn't even have that.
No.
No.
Did you say cafetorium?
Cafetorium, meaning it's
Is that like
also
a
where
mixture of vomitorium and cafeteria?
it's a mixture of auditorium and cafeteria.
Sorry.
So there's a stage in there, but it's also where they serve lunch.
You're like, hey, you with the chicken fingers, get
Yeah.
out of the way.
But
Yeah.
I made it, you know.
Okay.
I made it to the big time.
Okay. So you went off to school at Chico,
Yep.
did your undergrad there,
Yeah.
went to San Diego State.
State.
Did you get into that program then? I'm assuming.
I did.
Okay, good.
And the rest is history.
The rest
And then
is
I
history.
went to New York.
Went to New York, and if I recall, you guys were also on cruise ships or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay, yep.
It was awesome.
Probably got to see the world.
See the world,
Okay.
sing,
Yeah,
eat great food.
it's not a bad deal. Do you though have to live underneath the propeller? on a cruise ship? Like when you're not,
I
like,
don't think that's safe.
when you're like front of the
under
house, or like you're like, and the big
in the
shaft
hole.
goes by, and then like part of your job is to also oil the propeller, and then like throw coal. I saw this Titanic as a documentary.
Yeah.
And there's this woman named Rose, and a guy named Jack.
Okay.
And there was this.
I don't know if that's a documentary.
It's not a documentary?
I think it's a blockbuster.
How come a
film.
door can't hold two people? That's what I want to know at the end. But there's plenty of room on the door for Jack. Like, push him off.
I think the funniest thing about working on cruise ships for me, as I don't know what, I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, and why the singer dancer on the ship is leading any sort of safety drills is beyond. But it's in Tina Fey's book, Bossy Pants. She talks about going on a cruise for her honeymoon, and she's like, some kid with a theater degree from middle America has a life vest on and is leading my boat drill. And I'm like, that was me.
Okay, guys, here we go. Imagine we're in a boat. Okay, we're in a boat. Like, okay, what else? Prop.
Everyone,
What's your prop? Get a
we're
prop.
all going to die. Go to your lifeboat. What?
That's really, so
Like,
the theater kids on the
why?
boat are in charge of the safety drills.
And I think because it's such, and we worked for an American cruise company, and so we have nationalities from all over,
Right.
and I think it's because our command of English, because it was our primary language.
Right. And you're able to gesture wildly
Yeah.
and project
And
to the
loud.
back.
Yeah.
So that's important. Women and children
Yeah.
first. Okay, that's good.
But theater people are kind of nutty, so I don't know if they would be the most sturdy.
During the actual
Like,
crisis.
I'm a pretty good leader, but I don't know if they're like
Places,
for Christ-
everybody.
places.
Places. Line.
5 to places.
Line.
We're all going to die.
Why are you walking on my line? This is my line right now.
Yeah.
I can just see you guys trying to load the lifeboats.
So that was fun. Cruise ships were awesome.
Oh, good. So then you got there, and then you came to Sonoma right from the cruise ship business.
No. We were going to do one more, and
Okay.
we had gotten married, and we're like,
Right.
and it was really cool, and it was going to be a around the world cruise, and the engine of the ship we were going to get on had a major malfunction.
Oh, really?
And a huge explosion.
It exploded. Like, before you were on the ship, I hope.
Before we were on the
And you're
ship.
like, oh well, I guess that
And then they
job's
put it
canceled.
in to be serviced, you
Right.
know, go to the...
Bring it back to the dealer.
The car shop, the boat shop.
Right.
And we were waiting a couple months, and
Oh, wow.
they kept kind of being like, no, we're still going to go
Were
out.
you paid at that time? Or were you
No.
like unpaid? So you're just on hold.
So we were kind of waiting.
Okay.
And then we had already talked about maybe it's time to start seeing what's next for
Right.
us.
Okay.
And that ship did sail again, and it's still in commission,
Right.
but we ended up
Right.
going out of that contract.
And
And then we got some jobs.
okay.
And then my job took us to Southern California.
Okay.
And I was in like luxury fitness and business operations
Okay.
and stuff. So, and Andrew was in events.
Did you say luxury fitness?
Luxury
Is that like where like you do better push-ups? Is it like Equinox or one of
Like
those
it's more
places?
expensive?
What is it?
More expensive
Lux-
fitness?
Luxury fitness. More expensive. Are these like health clubs?
It was Soul Cycle.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
So
right.
it's like boutique cycling
Gotcha.
studio.
Got it. That was before Peloton took off, right? Soul Cycle.
It was because it was
That
pre-pandemic.
was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone was like, Peloton, that'll never
That-
be anything. People want to be in the studio.
February 2020, like that thing's never gonna take off.
Oh my God, it was what a
Yeah.
trip.
And then
yeah.
Soul Cycle. Okay, so you had luxury fitness. And
So
then, you come up
then,
here.
and then that moved us from New York to Southern California, and
Hmm.
then Andrew was in event sales. He was
Oh, cool.
in Southern California, and Andrew, for those that don't know him, is just one of those people that's like, I just want to do this, and then it happens. And he's
He
like,
manifests. Your husband.
not on purpose though. He's not like holding his crystals and he's like, I want this to happen. I'll speak truth for that. He just is like, yeah, like holding a glass of wine. And we loved wine because we traveled everywhere.
Right.
And we didn't know what we were doing, but we just
Right.
like thought
Right.
it was just the best. And like any good actor, we of course had been in the bar and restaurant industry because we're people pleasers. So we had a lot of experience in
Right.
beverage
Right.
and hospitality and sales. So he one day in Southern California was like, I want to get into wine.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, why don't you apply? And he's like, okay.
And it worked.
And it worked.
See?
See? See, Andrew?
Accidental manifestation. It happens. Or whimsical manifestation. I don't know what we call that. Flash forward. We're living in Sonoma now.
Yeah.
You're here.
Yes.
Someone says, hey, you guys seem theatrical. Have you seen Sonoma Arts Live? And
Basically,
they introduce you to those people.
I mean, I met a person, actually, Ellen Toscano. She's the singing auctioneer. And she goes, oh my gosh, like, I'm an ex-theater person. You're an ex-theater person. You have to meet Jamie.
By the way, that's the most Sonoma thing ever, because you said, the singing auctioneer. I'm like, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Everyone knows who she is. Yeah.
Right.
And she's a wonderful human. And so she introduced me to Jamie. Mm-hmm. And Jamie and Rick introduced me to a bunch of other theater people. And I was actually pregnant with Tegan at the time. And they're like, are you guys going to do theater? And we're like, we don't do that anymore. No, but I love going to theater.
Okay.
I love seeing what's going on in the community. Like, this is cool.
And then you never step foot in there again?
Never again. And so just one thing led to another. And we ended up doing a show.
What kind of shows have you guys been in over there?
A lot.
Really?
I think.
More than 3 is a lot.
Okay, more than 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been in a musical like Oklahoma?
They have not done Oklahoma.
Okay. Have you been in, you're really testing my knowledge of musicals, West Side Story?
I shouldn't be in that. I shouldn't be in that musical.
Bye Birdie. You could be a shark or a jet. Bye Birdie.
I cannot be Puerto Rican.
Oh, that's a good point. When I'm Puerto Rican, huh?
But I could be Polish.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So Officer Krepke, Officer...
It's my dream role. It's my dream role, Tim.
Wait,
how did you know?
What musicals do Assassins? I remember that musical.
Oh, I like that show.
That was one there.
I don't know if you would know any of the shows I've been in.
Oh, look at you.
Sunset Boulevard?
Oh, sure. Is that the one where I'm ready for my close-up, Mr.
Yes.
Gnome? Okay. I've heard of that one.
That was several years ago. But yeah, Andrew serves on the president of the board, and I've been in shows.
So you guys have been in these shows. This is crazy. You've been in shows, and that's why I'm going to transition.
Yes, let's transition.
But you've always wanted to
direct.
So now,
what I've always wanted to do is direct.
Now you're directing a play, a musical. When I mentioned it to one of my people who works with me at the visitor center, she says, I love that book. So the play, the musical, is called The Hello Girls.
Correct.
And can you tell me what that's about?
I can. And there is a book and a documentary.
Okay.
And it is the real life story of the group of women that volunteered and were enlisted into the Army in World War I.
Okay.
To serve as the bilingual telephone operators.
Oh, I gotcha. So this is like 110 years ago. 2024?
1918.
Yeah, so, okay.
Yeah.
The United States is drawn into the war.
Drawn into the war.
Drawn into the war. We were kept out of the war.
Yeah, and we were not.
We were isolationists.
And
we're like, we're not going there. And like Wilson's like, nah, ain't going to happen or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like, surprise, so we're in the war. And then they needed people who spoke on the telephone.
Well, they needed people who could operate switchboards.
Okay.
And they had men over there doing it, but it wasn't a male-dominated job. And so then they were getting like buried by the inundation of this like new communication. It was the first time that had been used in war.
Like telephones were a new technology at that time. Right.
And General Pershing, who is in the show, and it chronicles real people in the musical. And General Pershing was like, well, if women are the best at it, we need women.
Bring in the experts.
Bring them in.
Right, okay.
They say that they connected 26 million calls. And they think if they timed what it would have done if the male soldiers had done it, it would have been 5 million.
Wow. This is, okay. So they took these experts like back, okay, take me back. Since we all have cell phones now, and nobody uses them to make phone calls. Back in the day, you would pick up a phone, and you would like do something like knock, 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 and then you tell the operator.
Well, this is before numbers. You just pick up the phone.
I pick up the phone, and you say, connect me to exchange 12, whatever.
Yeah. And your number would have been like 3.
And they would take like a cord from one thing, and they plug it into another thing. I've seen these switchboards, they call them, and that's how all calls went through.
Yep.
So flash to World War I, they were on the battle lines, all these things are going there, and Belgium needs to talk to France, which needs to talk to somebody else.
And like those stations would be certain places away, so like you couldn't just directly connect from like France to Belgium.
Right, okay.
There would be like...
You can only go so far before the signal, or you had to do a relay or something like that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, in World War I too, I mean, they were straight up with like on a, like with a dowel,
a spool of wire. Yeah.
Laying wire.
Running across battlefields.
Running across battlefields with wires. Or putting them on backpacks on animals.
Oh, like a dog or a donkey or something like that? Or Okay. And then
it's crazy.
Go. So what's the plot of the musical?
The plot is chronicling the story of these women, all from when they heard that they were giving the opportunity to answer the call.
Okay.
And many women applied. Only a few were selected. They were shipped over. So it's their whole story about their involvement in the war.
Okay.
And then when they came home, they were told that they were not going to receive veteran status.
With benefits. So they were in the Army, like the Army Signal Corps or something like that?
U.S. Army Signal Corps.
Okay.
Took the oath, wore dog tags, subject to court-martial.
Okay.
And like what's really important, and you see in the show, is that General Pershing and the men, although they poke fun, they definitely respected them. Like they treated them like soldiers. I mean, they kind of didn't know what to do with them because generals were very separate at that point.
Yeah.
But in his mind, they were in the military.
Right.
So, and then they took on a decades-long fight to get their acknowledgement.
And would they qualify for a pension or something like that? Or what were they trying
pension, I mean, just like even veteran status, like you served, just recognition.
Right.
They called them civilian contractors.
Even though they were probably not, some were probably close to the front lines.
Yes.
And plenty of soldiers go off to war and are not in the front lines.
Right.
There's plenty of people
They
in
were
the back
on the
lines.
front lines. They were not straight in
Right.
combat.
Or people shooting directly at you, but they were pretty close.
But
Those,
gas masks, helmets.
right. They were within artillery distance, definitely. of
Right.
what's happening there. How long did it take, or did they, or do I have to buy a ticket? But do they eventually get veterans
What's cool
status?
too, I've done this. Then there's a Sonoma connection too. I don't know if you remember. We need to talk about that for the Hello Girls.
Put a pin over there.
Yeah, that's really important to this story. Found out about the show, thought it was really cool. It's really fresh, so
Right.
I'm become a World War I history buff,
Okay,
but it's important to mention that it has like a contemporary score, kind of like that Hamilton vibe.
Oh, really? It's not like the.
It's not like a dirge. And it's not like, it's
Like-
we're not
like turn of
signing
the
up.
century
You're
music.
not signing up to come like watch Schindler's
Okay.
List
Right,
or like
so it's not super it's gonna emotionally
it has
tax me.
well, it has everything.
Okay.
It has those super emotional moments, but it's also they tried to make light of things and they tried to have fun when they could, right? Because they were just trying to survive.
And they were
through-
young people.
very young.
Okay, that's what.
So, so I would like to mention that, like, it's funny, it's silly. They're a bunch of like 18 to 30-year-olds.
Right, off on this grand adventure.
They're in Paris, and they're like, it's Notre Dame, but they're like,
have
but
some champagne.
Yeah.
Where were the women from? In the United
All
States?
over.
All over. Okay.
But so 233 ended up getting the to go,
Okay.
and 39 were from California.
Oh wow. And that was back when we weren't as populous a state.
Yeah, and there
is
was quite a lot. I don't know. It was like a Bell Telephone company, but based out of San Francisco.
Okay.
So a lot of those women, but you had to speak French fluently.
Huh.
Because you had to be able to translate.
Right, translate between the whole thing there. So the women went there, they came back, you said they eventually got recognition. But is this story about the fight for the recognition? Is the story about...
The story is about their story in the war.
In the war, okay.
But it's the reason to write the show and to tell the story is because it took until 1970 for them to get their recognition.
No
and most
kidding.
of them were not alive.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah, wow.
Just to even be considered
That they were Army veterans.
that they were Army veterans.
Huh.
And so, sure, yeah, pension's nice, but most of them weren't even alive or didn't
Right,
get
or
any
would qualify
benefit.
for
But
the
it was
pension
just
then.
they. And think about this: they came back in 1918 to a country where they didn't have the right to
They
vote.
couldn't vote. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
It seems like when we were younger studying your stuff, that was so long ago. And you're like, wait a minute, my grandparents or their parents were alive at this time.
Yeah.
And I knew my grandparents.
Yeah.
So that's not that long ago.
It's not that long
the
ago.
progress.
And just that you were willing to risk your life for your country without really expecting anything in return.
Right.
And women are not the only class of veterans that are underrepresented and unseen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think that's really important for the show. It definitely celebrates women and celebrates this story, but we know that there are many groups of people that
Historically have not been given the same recognition.
but we're willing to do that.
Well,
they
that's
were
good.
willing to go to war, which is crazy.
tell me about, you mentioned a Sonoma angle. Tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I have to say, so the show started as like, oh, I love this show. And Jamie Love asked if I knew the show. And I was like, oh, I know it. It's so cool. She's like, do you think we could pull it off at Sonoma Arts Live? And she asked that because all the actors also play their own instruments and have to speak French.
Where are you finding these people?
This is, you are the biggest proponent of nobody who's not in the Sonoma area understands how many really amazing people.
That's what's so funny is like you cannot swing a bottle of Chardonnay without knocking over a jazz pianist or something. Like there are so many different musicians and actors up here.
And I have a gal coming even all the way from San Francisco.
Okay.
But so they're from all over
Right.
the Bay Area.
Okay.
And I said, I think we should do it. And she was like, you know, like the original way it was done off Broadway because it was
Right.
a massive hit off Broadway.
Okay.
And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, can I direct it? She's like, okay.
Good for
and
you.
I don't think Jamie knew what she was getting herself into because that whole thing is unearthed. I'm like, it's the Hello Girls. So I thought, cool show.
Right.
There are plenty of amazing, especially females in this area, to tell the story. Yay, great. It's going to be the time of my life.
Okay.
So then I started doing research. I'm a theater nerd, so I love researching.
Dive deep, right?
And got in contact with the woman, Dr. Elizabeth Cobbs, who wrote the book.
Okay.
And Jim Theres, who directed the documentary.
Okay.
And this like unraveling of people who are doing work for the Hello Girls still to try to get them a congressional gold medal
Okay.
are just giving me research and asking to get on calls with me, and they know about the show.
For like I'm not downplaying how important your theater is.
Oh.
But for like a smaller community theater.
It's a like 90-seat theater.
That's fantastic.
And so it's just become this like whole thing where I'm on calls with like DC. The Doughboy Foundation is like the National World War I Foundation.
Right.
They asked me to write an article for them. And I've been on...
Maeve, you're like, good job.
Well, it's been just like exploding. And they were just so generous. I just
Right.
started with like, it's this very niche, tiny story.
Right.
And I actually thought, oh, there's probably someone out there that would want to connect about this, you
Right,
know, because
right.
they love this. And
Or maybe their grandma was one
yeah,
of their
but it's
great-grandmother.
so niche. And there are a group of, there's descendants, and they are like, we'll talk to your cast. Like, what
wow.
can we do to tell
Okay.
you stories about? Actually, the heroine of the story, Grace Banker, her granddaughter is still very much involved. And,
Okay.
and she's willing to, she's been talking with me. So Jim, the director of the documentary, and he is a very well-respected documentarian.
Documentarian? Yeah, sure.
Gives me like a ton of his research. Just like, here, I don't know what you want to do with this.
Great. You got a research assistant.
And I'm like, that's so kind. And there is a thing that I didn't know existed. It's a virtual cemetery.
Okay. It's kind of creepy, I think, so far, but talk me through it.
Yeah. But because the Hello Girls are everywhere, including even France, because two actually did die during
Oh,
the
interesting.
war.
Okay.
But weren't veterans. And it's a virtual cemetery with locations of all the women that were Hello Girls.
Right, okay.
Well, they've all died.
Right.
You know.
I guess, yeah. Doing the math, yes, that makes sense.
So, and this is just so Sonoma. I'm like scrolling through the 200, and it's not, we don't know all of them, but there's 100.
Right.
And there's a woman who died in Sonoma who was a Hello Girl.
Is she buried up here at the cemetery?
She's at St. Francis Solano.
No kidding.
And I'm like, what?
Oh, that's fantastic.
And her husband, maybe this is going to happen to me. Her husband got a job in Sonoma. This just dawned on me. I'm like having this moment right
And
here.
he manifested.
But he was a telephone operator, and she was too. And they got married, and he got a job here, and they moved here. And they lived out their lives here.
Wow.
And her mother lived here too with them.
Okay.
She didn't have any children.
Okay.
I go over to St. Francis Solano because I don't know, I live here, and now I do this. I guess this is my
Knock on doors.
this is my job now. So I like take my mom and dad, my two daughters. Andrew's working at San Giacomo that day, and I go looking for her site. I'm just maybe I can find her.
We get a lot of people that request cemetery maps, to be honest.
Really?
We do all the time. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking and looking and looking and looking. I can't find her anywhere. And I'm like about to kind of call it in because I have my two little kids with me.
They're kind of getting bored, Mom.
Yeah, they're over it. And we go back to where I parked the car, and I see this like these plots because I know that the husband is there and this woman, Juliet, her mother.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, I didn't look at that one. So I go look and I find the husband.
Okay.
And I find Juliet's mother.
Okay.
And there's like an adjacent plot and it has nothing on it.
You think that was it?
It is her.
Interesting.
And so now, on top of this being an amazing show, I am now working with the American Legion in town and this National Doughboy Foundation because we're going to get her a headstone.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because she's on an unmarked gravesite.
Really?
And St. Francis Solano is like the cemetery is a very, like, it's a...
Say it.
What?
It's the classy one.
Well, it is. I mean, there's like all these iconic family members of
Maeve,
like...
people are dying to get in.
Stop. So rude. Well, Juliet's in, so we need to have her do
Right,
recognition. But
okay.
you know, I mean, she died in 1950 something, so she didn't even know that she got her
VFW
status.
would Veterans of Foreign Wars too. If they would.
Yeah. So what's interesting is from meeting all these people is like they're doing this work all over the country, and so they're just like, this is great.
Right.
So they're on it. They're
great.
working with our American Legion.
Okay.
And her name's Willie Vaughn. She's awesome, and they're gonna get it for her. I don't think it's gonna happen before the show opens,
Right.
but
That's a fantastic thing. It's like as a result of your, research and theater nerding out,
totally.
and then the local connection.
Yeah.
So, wow.
It's so Sonoma, though, right?
I know it is very Sonoma.
It's so
Have
Sonoma.
you told Patricia from the Historical Society yet?
Have I what?
Patricia Cullinan from
Yeah,
the Sonoma.
yeah, I've talked with her, too.
She'll get very excited about this.
Yeah, she was just like, what?
We got to do something about this.
Yeah, so it's going to happen, but it's been a really beautiful thing just on top of this really cool show.
Yeah. Well, bring me back to the show then.
Yeah.
When does it open?
It opens April 19th.
Okay, and how long does it run for?
It runs for 3 weekends, and I'll tell you something else. It's like almost 60% sold.
Oh, wow. And I'll tell you what.
So you better get your tickets.
If people listen to this podcast and you go buy tickets and you said Sonoma Spiel podcast, we're not going to give you a discount, but it's just nice for them to know.
But seriously, like, I mean, so
Right.
it's the premiere of the show for this area.
Okay.
I can't speak exact, but I want to say like Northern California.
Definitely Northern California.
Yeah.
100%. You heard it here first. This is the Northern California premiere of the Hello Girls.
But to go back to like the Sonoma community and a theater in Sonoma, like the classics sell, and it's harder to sell these kind of little unknowns.
Right.
And so when we went to do it, it was like, oh, like what are we gonna do? And I was like, no, this is a really important story. It's a military story. It's a female story. Like we're gonna sell this thing, and like people are just.
I think you will because the novelty of it.
It's so cool.
And it's interesting. Well, so the production. How many people are in it?
10.
10. Okay, and they play their own instruments.
Correct.
They all have to play an instrument, or can they kind of fake it? Like is there a kazoo or something?
No
like that,
one is
triangle?
faking it, and so the people that aren't instrumentalists are not playing instruments.
Got it.
Yeah.
Like, but they can clap or snap or something.
Or like
Just
sing,
stand
dance,
there.
act, tell the story,
All the stuff.
all the
that-
other
okay.
things.
That's daunting. Like in the
It's a big
in the call
deal.
sheet. Like must know French, bassoon, and how to operate a 1918 switchboard.
Well, yeah, the switchboard thing. It's okay. They don't have to. They're not really connecting phone calls. It is a play.
I do wish you luck in finding a landline somewhere nowadays.
I think I have bought every Bell telephone headset from that
That's
era
fantastic.
in the world.
Yeah, you're probably like,
'Cause I
how
needed
do I
5.
find these? How do I find
And
them?
I've had like one on Etsy, one on eBay, and
No kidding. You
they're
could
not very
probably-
expensive though, to be honest. No one wants.
Hopefully, you better corner the market before they become a number one item. Okay, and the show lasts. Is it like a 90-minute show, 2-hour show?
It's a full musical, so
musical.
you're looking at a 2-hour with a intermission. Yeah,
You got to
like
smoke
the
your
full
cigarette,
thing.
like back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got
Your
1918. That's what you got to do.
drink your coffee, drink your wine.
Drink your wine.
San Giacomo's the wine sponsor for Sonoma Arts Live.
Well, isn't that convenient?
I really do need to plug my own winery. at
Speaking
some
of,
point.
well, Maeve, that reminds me, when you're not directing Northern California premieres
premieres
and
totally.
raising 2 wonderful children,
They are wonderful.
and
Not
doing
because of me, but
and doing all the other amazing things you're doing,
yes.
how do you actually pay the bills and bring home money?
Yeah,
What do-
I have
what
a
do you do for
very
that?
full-time, amazing job at my favorite winery,
It looks like it's Coursey Graves.
Coursey Graves,
Coursey
on top of Bennet
Graves,
Mountain.
right on top of Bennet Mountain. So,
Yes.
and that's one of the sub-AVAs of Sonoma Valley.
Yeah.
So you're right there in the northwestern
Yeah.
corner of Sonoma Valley. Tell me about Coursey Graves. What is it?
Well, Bennet Valley AVA, but we're on top of the mountain.
You're the king of the AVA.
It's so beautiful up there. I
You
really
are.
say that with all earnestness. I've been there
Right.
for 3 years, and it's still just like, is this real life?
I love it. It's, yeah, because like you drive up there.
It's magical.
Yeah, there are a lot worse commutes in the world.
Yeah, and like it's just magical. Yeah, we make great wine.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been there when I started, and then no, I'm serious. Like
They were doing a good job before I showed up, but since you showed up,
that's not what I meant. No, we've just built a team, and
Right.
the property wasn't completely finished when I started, and
Okay.
it's finished, and we're welcoming guests, and
Right.
they get to experience the magic of Bennet Mountain.
tell me about that experience. Because like, what's it like for going up to Coursey Graves?
Yeah, it's a privately hosted 90-minute experience.
Mm-hmm.
Tour of our production facility. We make all our own wine on property. You go
Okay.
through our caves. You're
Okay.
with a dedicated host that's
Okay.
a wine expert. But it's also Sonoma, so it's super welcoming and
Right.
just a great, beautiful.
So you don't have to be a wine expert to take
No,
the tour. Like,
no.
you guys are happy to explain how.
But
things
we
work.
can hang with the wine experts.
Oh,
you
Clark
know, when
dorks.
the
You
people
can see
start
their-
to
yeah, go for it.
start their questions, we're like, we got you. So the quality
Right.
is there.
Good.
And the vine, I mean, most of our wine is estate
So
driven.
you kind of point behind your shoulder while you're
like,
doing the tour.
here it is,
Here
you know, or we just walk in the vineyard. I mean, you're right there.
What kind of wines do you make? Other than excellent wines. Yes.
Amazing.
wines.
Andrew and I always talk about this. If you're going to be a good winery in this area, wine is a non-starter. Like, it just has to be great.
Right.
Period.
Right. There's no bad wineries.
If
here.
you don't,
You will not make it.
you will not make it.
Right.
Yeah, we do some Chardonnay that I brought you, and Pinot Noir, but that is, a lot of it usually is from our Petaluma Gap,
Right, which makes sense.
Sonoma
'cause
Coast.
Up in Bennet Valley, a little bit warmer.
A little warmer. So
there.
there we're doing our Bordeaux blend,
Okay.
Cabernet Merlot, throw in some Malbec sometimes. That's our flagship, and we have some really good Syrah.
Oh, really? Okay.
And you'll actually see, if you see Bennet Valley Syrah, I think we're going to get our first couple of labels next year of people that are getting some Syrah from us, and it's going to say Coursey Graves
very
Vineyard
good.
on it, which would be
and,
great.
And Bennet Valley appellated.
Yeah,
or-
Bennet
okay.
Valley AVA.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
How long has Coursey Graves been a winery?
Well, our first vintage was 2015.
So you're kind of new.
Pretty new in the wine biz.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
new.
And who is there a Coursey and is there a Graves?
Yes, Cabell Coursey is the founding winemaker, still there with us every single day. He's who hired me, so I work with him a lot.
Okay.
And then John Graves and his wife Denise own the property, but super involved.
Also, it's kind of match between the owner, property rancher, grape
Yeah.
grower, vintner, Coursey, and Graves.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
And Cabell's a viticulturist too. So I
Okay.
mean, he knew of the area and that property. He had made wine for that property before it was Coursey Graves, and he was just like, "This is an amazing."
Yeah, and I think it's
vineyard.
nice having a place in Bennet Valley that people can go visit.
Yeah.
There aren't, like, Matanzas Creek is up there.
Yeah.
But there aren't a lot of wineries that are in that area that are, like if you go to Glen Ellen, there's a lot of wineries.
Yeah, there's this little
like
pocket.
that little driveway. But there's not as many in Bennet Valley, so it's kind of a special
Well, and what's cool is
spot.
we're right in between.
Okay.
So like you can like have your lower Sonoma Valley time and like come to us, or you can be up in like Healdsburg, Upper
Right.
Sonoma, and then like come down.
On
We're
your way
like
through.
right in the middle.
Right. It is a nice cut through, by the way, between Santa Rosa and Sonoma. I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I drive the back roads, but
Yeah.
this is so pretty.
So I guess the word is destination wineries. So
Yeah,
we're one of those
like
places
that.
you go to have
Right.
your experience.
Good views.
Amazing views, amazing wines.
And it's not a
like,
place you just stumble upon, so
No.
you kind of have to maybe call ahead or plan yourself a little bit.
Appointments are definitely recommended.
Especially with a small,
Yeah.
Like on the Plaza, we always say, you can walk around. If one's full, there's another one.
yeah.
With you guys, it's like, hey, we did the Plaza yesterday, but now we're going to go make some reservations.
Yeah.
Go up to Coursey Graves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are one of your favorite wines from them? And you don't have...
My favorite wine from Coursey Graves?
Yeah.
Well, the Syrah got me.
Okay.
Because before I worked there, I love Syrah.
Were you in the wine business before Coursey Graves?
Okay. Kinda. I mean, I lived in Sonoma, so I poured wine.
By
I
default,
did
yeah.
events. I
Yeah.
poured for a couple places. But I was in something really exciting. I was in legal advertising.
Oh my gosh. Are you sitting on the couch? Someone somewhere owes you money. Call me right now. Maeve
we did-
Smith, 1-800.
We did lead generation. And it was like
Really?
I had the kids. They were really little. Andrew was like doing the wine
Yeah.
thing, and I needed something. And actually, it was a dear friend's company, and they just need someone to do like customer management.
Okay.
And customer.
Was it a law firm, or was it like you were trying to find people to?
We were a lead generation company for lawyers, so the lawyers were my clients.
Okay, and they were like, "Hey,
They
where'd the ambulance go?" And you would chase it.
They were lovely.
Were you? Did you charge them by 6-minute increments when they talked to you? You should have done that.
I just think
Should have done that.
if you can do hospitality basically and sales
Right.
for that population,
And then you've got skills. Yeah.
just a joy. So when it was like, oh, there's this winery and you should go meet Cabell Coursey, and they're
Right.
just like building this team and they're reopening after COVID
Right.
and fires, and oh, okay. And I go up there, I'm like, I can work here.
100%. I'm hired. Yes. Well, there's no
What
job.
do you need?
Yeah, what job?
I mean, it was kind of like, we don't know. We're just going to rebuild our team.
Right.
And so now I'm the general manager. But before it was like, can you just, like, I plugged the phones in.
Just show up.
I plugged the phones in.
Oh my gosh, we've gone full circle.
Yeah.
You plug the phones in. With that, I want to say if people want information about Coursey Graves,
CourseyGraves.com.
thank you. If people want information about Sonoma Arts Live, and especially the Hello Girls,
Yes.
where do they get that information?
SonomaArtsLive.org.
Okay, Sonoma
Arts
Live.org.
All Sonoma Arts Live and Coursey Graves, follow them on social media. That's
They're
the
hilarious.
easiest place.
They're the best. They did a great job.
Because
Yeah.
everyone
it's all
has
right
their links there, so just follow them on Instagram.
Just find us on the gram, people.
Find us on the gram. Well, that is the gram's starting to age us, Tim.
On the snap face. On the
Yeah,
the
things
talk.
things
on the,
I don't have. I have too
on
many
the,
apps.
On the talk chat.
Yes.
What's left? I know. Okay, so everyone should go there to CourseyGraves.com and SonomaArtsLive.org. Get all the information right there for the Hello Girls. And go there. Go.
And I did say it is the Hello Girls. They were colloquial called the Hello Girls. That
Oh,
was
right, that was their name.
World War One, the men in the army were the doughboys.
And they were the
And they
Hello
were the
Girls.
Hello Girls.
Hello Girls. And then, okay, that makes sense.
So I mean, that was their like
there
real,
now.
real title.
I like that. Okay, Maeve, are you ready?
I'm nervous.
Maeve,
about
we've
this
come to that
part.
part of the podcast where the guest helps us answer some questions. Remember, we got 2 visitor centers.
Yeah.
People can text us, call us, etc., etc.
I'm ready.
This segment's called We Get Questions. You haven't seen these yet?
I don't think so.
No, because I didn't give them to you.
Okay. I was like, did I miss that?
No, here we go. First question.
Okay.
Hey, we're heading out in October.
Ooh.
We prefer cabs.
Okay.
Any suggestions on where to go?
Coursey Graves.
Great answer. Check that one off.
Yeah, check that one off. But Sonoma cab is not to be discredited.
No, we have a good cab here.
Really good cab.
Moon Mountain's got great cab.
I was going to say, if I have to choose my other favorite, it's Moon
Yeah,
Mountain
that's kind of
AVA.
what we're famous for. And in addition to Coursey Graves. So by cabs, we're assuming we mean Cabernet. And by Cabernet, we're assuming Cabernet Sauvignon. There is Cabernet Franc. But that's the one.
Is that your French accent?
Yeah, Franc. Can I try out for the show?
I think it's it's fully cast, but maybe next time.
Bonjour, girls. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So so there's a lot of good Cabernets here. Almost every winery will have some form of a Cabernet. And to your earlier point, it's hard to find bad wine here, right?
Yes.
So most wineries will have it, but Moon Mountain is especially known for their Cabernets.
And like if you're in that real Cabernet conversation, I could talk all day about Cabernet. Like Sonoma, high quality, really good Cabernet, and like not the Napa prices.
Correct. You get the good quality with the better price.
It's not to be discredited
And a
at
smile.
all. And a smile.
And a smile.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a good one.
Okay.
Good answer.
Next.
Hey, this came into someone walked into our visitor center. So they said, hey, what are those green structures that look like ponds that line the sidewalks on the plaza? What are those green? And
Look like ponds?
They look like ponds not prawns, but ponds
Like
in a chess
water?
piece. So it looks like this,
Oh.
like a chess piece. These little green things.
Are they lights? I don't know.
That's a great question, right? So you've seen these around the plaza.
Yeah.
They look like, it looks like a chess piece.
And they don't have any water source.
Right. So what those are, they're called bollards.
Bollards?
A bollard.
Okay.
And a bollard is
bollard?
it's a bollard, eh?
It's a bollard.
Oi, governor. Oh, where's the bollard? So what the bollard
You
does?
steal that from the Brits? What did you do?
Maybe it's French. It's a bollard.
Oh, bollard.
Oui, je suis le bollard. The bollard does a few things. One,
horse? Tie up your horse?
Well, that's a great idea.
Okay.
I like that. We actually do have a horse tie up on the plaza.
Oh, I know. My girls think
Yes.
it's like the jungle gym monkey
Right.
bars,
Oh,
and it's
hop
about
it
to
on.
fall out of the earth. If one more kid's birthday party happens on
I
that
will
side
bring
of
that
the
up.
plaza.
I will bring that up. So it's one way behind electrical outlets.
Okay.
On the plaza for
That makes
farmers
sense.
markets. It also creates a delineation along the pathways, and it keeps cars and things from driving into the plaza at times. Bollards can be used that way. So
bollard.
it's a bollard.
It's a bollard.
Oi, governor.
Oh.
So now you know about bollards.
I just learned something new.
We get the most random questions at the visitor center, and we have to answer for all of them. We're like, yeah, that's definitely
Just like that was the most important thing to ask
at that moment. Of course it was. Okay, ready?
Yeah, something else. Don't end on bollards, please.
Yes. It's about a curb. No.
Oh, great.
So we mentioned last time we have a tasting pass, the Sonoma tasting pass. We did our commercial. It's available online. San Giacomo Vineyards is part of that. But we got a text message. People text us 707-996-1090, and they asked us, 707-996-1090. Hi, we are looking into your tasting pass, but I wanted to ask how it works. One, do we make online reservations with individual wineries after purchasing the pass, or do we walk in this Saturday when we plan to visit? Okay. And it's a two-part question.
I'm following.
The second part, we will have a 9-year-old girl with us. Do we only purchase passes for the adults, or will she be able to sit with us at the tastings, or are there age restrictions? So first one is, if you get the tasting pass, do you need to make reservations? And the second one is, I have a 9-year-old. Does she need the pass? And will she be able to go to the tastings?
Are they French?
You know what's weird about that? I can't tell from their accent and their writing.
I'm just saying, maybe the 9-year-old is going to
So,
taste.
yes, if you're French, you need a pass for the kid.
Yeah, like you got to pay.
So for the record, working your way backward, you don't
Sorry,
need
in
a
the
pass.
United States, you have to be 21
Right,
to
you
drink
do
alcohol.
not need a pass for your 9-year-old because your 9-year-old can't drink.
Okay,
Unless
unless
you
you allow them to drink.
Right, in France.
In France.
But here you will imperil the license of the business.
And the ABC is not fun to go
and
up
they
against.
will not be happy to hear that. So yeah, your
No.
child does not need a pass.
But can the child sit with them?
Yes, so most tasting rooms will allow well-behaved children. They always say well-behaved children and dogs.
Because I hear it too. People say it. Well-behaved dogs, children. And what person is? I mean, I'll say my dog is not well behaved. And
My
neither,
kid's a total ass. No.
No, my kids are kids.
My kid's a maniac.
I think my kids are actually very well behaved,
Right.
but they are children.
My kids are not behaved, and they're 19. So yeah.
I like to tell people, like, I'm a mother.
Right.
Do you want to go tasting with your children? And then they're like, well, and I'm like,
Right.
so here's what I. Yeah.
So here's the answer. If some children of course, children are often welcome at tasting rooms with some caveats. 1, if there's space. 2, if they're not disruptive. 3, if they have access to an iPad and Wi-Fi. But something to keep them entertained. Wine tasting, often it can be interesting for kids, especially though if you're like in a winery, in a vineyard, and you're someplace where they can go, right? But a tasting room,
Right.
which are a little more direct to like, we're just going to drink wine and talk about it.
Yeah.
Not a lot for kids.
If you're talking about on the plaza too,
Right.
Hey, do your tasting, grab a bottle, and go to the plaza.
That's exactly
You
it.
can drink alcohol in the plaza.
You can drink on the plaza, and I hear there is a horse tie-up that you
There's
can
a
like
horse
tackle.
tie-up and 2 playgrounds and a duck pond. Your
It's a
kid
lot
can
of fun.
fall in.
Yeah,
Anything
all the
can
time.
happen.
All the time. The duck pond, cleanest water you can see. So yeah, go.
And there are family-friendly wineries.
Of course.
So we always give those recommendations.
Right. Actually, the irony is wine tasting with kids is best when the kid is like 6 months and below, because it's
Not mobile.
It's the cat with no legs for now.
Yeah,
it's
not
like right there.
mobile or iPad age where they just are
Right
thrilled
there.
to have
Right.
an hour.
They're right there.
Yeah.
And then going to the first question, you can make online reservations. Most of the tasting rooms around the plaza are accepting walk-ins, but you have to be flexible enough that they might say, can you come back in an hour or two if they're slammed at that moment. Reservations are always recommended.
Yeah, and now is the best time, especially if you listen to this and you're in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Come up because you can probably get in most places.
You can just
and that's
roll
gonna
right
change.
in. It changes
And
in
it's
the
getting
summer.
really busy in the valley.
Yeah, in the summer it picks up, and we're moving that way
We're gonna
to
have a
the
busy,
weekend. Yeah,
busy
so
season.
let's make the rest. Good. All right, here's another one. Whew, you passed so far. You're 2 for 2. 3 for 3. I'm a mathematician.
The salad. Don't forget about the bollard.
Oh, I got
Poor bollard. It gets no respect.
Chimney. Okay, so where's a good place in Sonoma to take your dog on a nature walk?
Everywhere? I don't know.
Yeah.
Pick up their poop?
Yep. Better pick up after your dog.
I think the Overlook Trail you can. No? I see. Maybe this.
Do you guys have a dog?
We have a dog.
Yeah.
We just walk him. I mean,
Just around.
we go to Maxwell. There's the
Right.
regional
That's
park
exactly it.
in Kenwood.
Sonoma Valley Regional Park.
Yeah.
You can bring your dog there
Yeah.
on a leash, and there's also a dog
There's
park.
a really good dog park there.
It's a huge dog park.
It's a good one.
I mean, that's the good one.
That's the good one.
And it's you're right. It's in I think it's between Glen Ellen and Kenwood. So it's
Yeah.
Glen Ellen kind of
Yeah.
area. Ernie Smith Park has a dog park,
They
and you
do.
can walk dogs there. Further afield, Helen Putnam Regional Park is in Petaluma. If you want, if you want
I've
to
heard
leave the
that's a
valley.
really good one too.
Yeah, most of the regional parks will have some access for dogs on leashes, but check because sometimes if there's
and
animals,
also
go. I'm listening. Give me your opinion.
don't walk
Hot
your
take.
dog without a leash.
Oh, you should absolutely have a leash on your dog.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. No,
Don't mean who. We
mean-
all know those people.
we know who we're talking about.
It's just you don't know what the dog is gonna do. You don't know. So I mean, our dog loves our kids,
Right.
but doesn't like other kids.
No,
very
because
much.
other dogs can react negatively to
Yeah.
places they don't know.
Yeah.
There's coyotes out there.
There's coyotes.
There's
Raccoons will mess your
raccoons.
dog up. Our
There's
dog just got
snakes.
skunked.
The skunk in the spring. It's because the baby skunks are coming out and they don't know how to control their spray. So that's what. Yeah, right now everything smells. It's Sonoma aroma out there, man.
It's so bad.
Yeah, when your dog
He
gets
got
skunked,
wrecked.
what did you do? How did you wash him?
We did everything wrong.
Mm.
And growing up in Half Moon Bay, I'm familiar with getting dogs
Right.
getting skunked. We did
actually-
everything you shouldn't have done, but it was 3:30 in the morning.
Oh my god!
So it was like, Andrew, what? And we're like, and like he
it
got
gets
it
in your nose. It gets in your nose.
he
That's
got
why.
and he got it right in his dog got it right in his eyes. So they go temporarily blind. So he's like a mess. He's all over the couch. We're trying to get him just
Of course, he's jumping on the couch.
in the
Yes.
get him in the bathroom. We get him in there, and like the thing you're not supposed to do is start washing them.
And you washed him.
And I washed them. So here we are.
Okay,
with our
so
choices.
that's what happens
So
if you
keep
don't
your
bring
dog
your dog
on a leash. Well, it was in our backyard, but yeah, I mean, it's just like
Okay.
it's just keep your dog on a leash.
Keep your dog
There's
on a leash.
bicycles.
You're right. It's like the same people who bring their dogs into Home Depot, and
What?
yes, people
Okay.
bring their dogs into Home Depot.
Well, I don't live in the big city, so I live in Sonoma. We don't have a Home Depot here. We go to
Everything's-
Friedman's.
Touche. And the large depot place.
okay,
and,
that
and
would-
then you're carrying like a 50-pound sack of something. and you're
Trip
like,
over
why?
poodle.
Yeah, why is there a dog here? But anyway.
Okay. Got any more questions?
Also, Bartholomew Park and
Oh,
Sonoma
Bartholomew,
Park.
okay.
Yeah, I can do it right there. So put your dog on a leash
And pick up the poop.
and pick up the poop. That could be a new musical you could write.
They would be coming in droves.
Scene number 1. We open on a bollard. Okay, here we go.
Pollard. Way to bring it back.
Here we go. Okay, here's the next question. We're heading out in June, and we're looking for smaller boutique wineries in the Sonoma, Glen Ellen, Kenwood area.
Okay.
Prefer Pinot Noir and Rhone varietals. Thanks. Via Facebook.
Coursey Graves.
Oh my God, Coursey Graves, which is just so happens to be above the Glen Ellen, Kenwood area. Okay.
However, I can give some other answers.
Oh, can you?
I think so, right?
Okay, punch
Am I
out from
allowed
Coursey.
to?
Of course you are. Go.
And you said small boutique.
Small boutique
Yeah.
in the Sonoma, Glen Ellen, Kenwood area. Prefer Pinots.
So
and
many.
Rhones. Okay.
The other thing is Sonoma is known for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
We are. So lots of Pinot.
La Rochelle is small. and
Oh, La Rochelle's a
boutique.
good one. Good job. Okay.
Rhone, Hamilton Family Wines.
Okay. Not named for the musical, but named for a family named Hamilton.
Right.
Ironically,
Yes.
Hamilton the musical is named for a guy whose name was Hamilton.
And it's like weird, right? It's like Smith.
What are the odds?
How could they all be related?
Hamilton's a cute one. Also, there's a bunch of small wineries up there.
Bunch. I mean, just
yeah.
go, and then there's all.
Right.
I love Kenwood for tasting.
It's a good spot.
Yeah.
It's Kenwood's got a section there in downtown Kenwood. They have
Down Kenwood.
they have
the
about,
bustling.
They have about 6 or 7 tasting rooms / wineries right there. Plus things like up in like St. Anne's Crossing, which I think is actually Zinfandel, so it doesn't count here. But there's a bunch in that area that you can go visit. So are there any in Sonoma that have Pinot Noir?
Are there any wineries? Okay, I see where you're going. San Giacomo.
Oh, San Giacomo Family Vineyards? They have Pinot Noir?
They've only been farming Pinot Noir and Chardonnay for
Really?
several decades.
Is there a good person to ask for when you go there?
His name, I think, is Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew
And if
Smith.
you were guessing, it's probably Andrew John Smith.
Andrew? Is it really Andrew?
That's his
Johnson?
name.
Is it really?
That's his name.
What did they like? Okay, for the big book of Anglo-Saxon baby names. Okay,
Long Island, Irish Catholic.
So San Giacomo asked for Andrew Smith up there, or any of the fine people that work at San Giacomo.
Any of the fine people.
That's a great spot.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Kristen Welsh too.
Oh, yeah,
She's
they do good
a
over there.
legend
They do
there.
good
Yeah.
So again, most of the wineries will have Pinot Noir, and Rhone varietals are very common here.
Okay.
Well, I should say very common. I say you can
Yeah.
find some. How about if I say
You can
that?
find some,
Okay, you're right. They're not common.
but we got to give like a little tip of the hat to the people producing Syrah. We got to give them some,
Oh, does like Coursey Graves have a Syrah?
like Coursey Graves.
Well, it just so
no,
happens.
I'm just
Coursey
saying, like,
Graves,
so okay, so Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Cabernet are like the most
the
marketable
big dogs. Yeah.
wines,
Right.
And then it becomes really hard as a business to make those like cool other wines. And Syrah
Right.
is very well known too, but it
Right.
just isn't. So you got to, when you have a winery and they're making Syrah or
You got to go try them out.
Tempranillo or all these kind of
Right.
cool Sangiovese, like
Try something new.
yeah.
Barolo. Ooh. Boom. That's what they got. You answered 12 out of 12 correctly.
Okay,
You're amazing.
that was 12 questions.
No, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The bollard. I didn't answer the bollard correctly.
I like that you printed out the bollard just because.
I'm really glad you did.
No,
I was
because
like,
when the woman came up, she goes, "What are those green things in the
you
plaza?"
said green ponds.
Oh no, pawn.
P-A-W, pawn.
Pawn.
Yeah, you didn't put
Pawn.
on your Long
Like
Island
a
accent.
pawn, not a pond, but a pond.
Pawn.
Like
Pawn.
like pawn to rook, whatever.
Yeah, got
Right.
it. Chess piece.
A chess piece. Well, now it makes more sense.
I was like,
do you want to do that question again?
It was like, I know the duck pond.
Duh. Yeah. Well, what are those green
Diction.
ponds?
Diction,
The
Tim.
green ponds are the duck ponds, which people have
I wonder
opinions
if anyone
about.
is going to still be listening at this point. My mom will.
Boy, I hope the Parks and Rec department isn't. Okay.
Okay.
And with that, Maeve, if people want more information about Coursey Graves, what is the website?
CourseyGraves.com or at Coursey Graves on Instagram.
If I am, and I am, no, not if, when I want to go buy my ticket for the Hello Girls, what website do I go to?
SonomaArtsLive.org. Follow on Instagram, Sonoma Arts Live Theater Company.
Wonderful. Maeve, you're great at this.
Thanks.
You should really look into performing arts.
I might give it a shot one
Yeah,
day.
you seem pretty comfortable with
Yeah.
this talking thing.
After my big directing debut.
That's right. Directing. After you have joined the Coursey Graves Wine Club, after you have already bought your tickets, season tickets
Because
to
there
Sonoma.
are more shows to come.
Okay, after you bought your season tickets to Sonoma Arts Live, then please go to sonomavalley.com for deals, special offers, and events. Hey, if you've listened this far, why not subscribe and give us a big old 5-star review on your favorite platform? Mom and Dad, thanks for listening. Larry, send me more questions. Talk to you guys next week.